ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः। श्रीराजोवाच ब्रह्मन् कालान्तरकृतं तत्कालीनं कथं भवेत् यत् कौमारे हरिकृतं जगो गण्डकेर्भकाः तद्ब्रूहि मे महायोगिन् परं कौतूहलं गुरो नूनं मे तद्धरेरेव माया भवते नान्यथा। The episode of Aghasura occurred when Bhagavan was only 5 years old. However, it was not until an entire year later that the children, the cowherd boys, related this story to their parents, saying, Krishna killed a python today. When Raja Parikshita heard this, he asked Shukadevaji why they were recounting news that was a year old as if it had occurred that day. Shri Shukadeva replied, after saving the Gopa boys and calves from Aghasura, Śrī Kṛṣṇa took them all to the banks of the river Yamuna. Praising the splendor of the scenery, he said, look how soft the sand is. Everything here is so enchanting. This is a perfect place for us to play and have fun. But first, let us eat. The calves can also graze nearby on that green grass. So all the Gopa boys liked the idea and agreed to this plan of action. An enchanting scene is depicted here. While the calves grazed on the grass, all the Gopa boys sat around Bhagavan, encircling him with their love. Śrī Kṛṣṇa was wearing a little yolo dhoti. Shukadevaji said, Jathara patayoho. His tiny flute was tucked tightly in his kamarband, alongside his horn, Shringa vitre chakakshe. And vame panau mastrana kavalam. He had curd rice in his left hand, and in his right hand, tat phalanyangulishu. Between each of his fingers, he had squeezed in either a piece of lemon or amla or ginger or other type of pickle. Tishthan madhye swapari surhido, hasayan narmabhi swahi. Sitting in the center of the circle, he entertained all his little Gopa friends with funny stories and jokes, making them laugh endlessly. Swarge loke mishati. Even the devas in heaven came to watch this rare divine sport and were left in absolute astonishment. The devas wondered how the Lord, who is the enjoyer of all yajnas and worship, who does not easily even come to the yajnas offered to the devas, who is the Yagneshwara, was himself sitting and eating with these children, amusing them with all sorts of jokes, stories and games.
बिभ्रद्वेणुं जठरपटयो शृङ्गवेत्रे च कक्षे वामे पाणौ मसृणकवलं तत्फलान्यङ्गुलिषु तिष्ठन्मध्ये स्वपरिसुहृदो हासयन् नर्मभिस्वे स्वर्गे लोके मिषते बुभुजे यज्ञभो
Then, just as all the Gopa boys were sitting, eating, laughing and talking with Bhagavan, their attention suddenly diverted to the calves. In search of greener and softer grass, the calves had wandered farther and deeper into the forest. The Gopa boys exclaimed, "Oh, look, where have our calves gone?" Their attention was no longer on Bhagavan. In Sanskrit, cows and calves are called go. Here, these calves represent our sense organs, which only too often move away from the Lord and go out to graze elsewhere. Just a moment ago, the calves had been in close proximity to Bhagavan. However, on spotting lush green grass in the distance, they left Bhagavan and went into that pasture. Like this, our sense organs too keep wandering in endless directions. The Gopa boys were supposed to be protecting the calves and protecting their sense organs. However, they just followed their calves just as the mind follows the sense organs. Bhagavan said, "Lo, here I am." Yet the calves have gone away and the Gopa boys have gone right after them. If the cows are our sense organs, then the Gopa boys are our mind. When the Gopa boys' attention turned to the calves, they went in search of them. Bhagavan thought they should be careful, for they were going with a disturbed mind. So he called them back and said, "All of you stay here and finish your food. I will search for the calves and bring them back quickly." Saying this, Bhagavan left.
भारतैवं वत्सपेषु भुञ्जानेष्वच्युतात्मसु वत्सास्त्वान्तर्वाणे दूरं विविशुस्त्रिणलोभिताः तान् दृष्ट्वा भयसन्त्रस्तानोचे कृष्णोऽस्याभिभयं मित्राण्याशान्मा विरमते ह्यनिष्ये वत्सकान्नहम्.
Lord Brahma was watching all this happen. Having witnessed the liberation of Aghasura, he was already astonished. Now he became deluded. Looking at Śrī Kṛṣṇa, he thought, this little boy has accomplished such incredible feats. All the children, women, men, and even the elderly of Vraja are all head over heels for this little fellow. He has managed to endear himself to everyone, young and old. What is so special about him? Of course, Bhagavan had already told Brahmaji from the start that he was going to take an avatar. Yet on seeing all these divine sports, Brahmaji even became deluded. On seeing all the reverence Śrī Kṛṣṇa was receiving from everyone, Brahmaji thought, what is going on here? Everyone here worships him and loves him to no end. I want to see what kind of power he really has. Thus, to see more of Śrī Kṛṣṇa's glories and magical sports, he hid all the calves and little gopa boys in the cave of a mountain. He rendered them unconscious and then sealed the cave entrance. Brahmaji thought, now let us see what he does. Here Śrī Kṛṣṇa searched for the calves on many mountains and in numerous caves, fields and groves, but did not find them. When he returned and saw all the gopa boys were missing, he immediately understood what had transpired. He said, well, now Brahmaji, you are playing with me. There is a difference between the creation of Brahmaji and the creation of Lord Narayana or Krishna. Brahmaji can create only if he has a material cause with which to create. The material cause is the jiva, that is the individual soul. For the world is created based on the jiva's karmas. And Brahmaji cannot create any new material object or principle that is not pre-existing. He cannot create new jivas or new karmas of his own accord. Whereas Lord Narayana needs no material cause, karma, jiva, anything. Without anything, he can create everything. He does not require anything else.
यावत् वत्सपावत्सकाल्पकवपुर्यावत् कराङ्घ्र्यादिकं यावत् यष्टिविषाणवेणोदलशी यावत् विभूषाम्बरम् यावच्छीलगुणाभेद आकृतिवयो यावत् विहारादिकं सर्वं विष्णुमयं गिरोऽङ्गवदच सर्वस्वरूपो बभौ.
When Śrī Kṛṣṇa saw that Brahmaji had stolen not only the calves but the little gopa boys as well, he became every gopa boy and every calf that Brahmaji had stolen. He expanded, he replicated their exact form, exact age and exact expressions, all the behavioral patterns perfectly. He duplicated the way they walked, talked, laughed, sat, and every other trait. The only difference now was that each of their forms was verily Bhagavan himself. The parents and cows never even realized that their child had changed. However, there was one definite difference. Though they were not able to explain why, But all those parents felt much more love for their children, and all those cows felt much more love for their calves. Every morning, as usual, Bhagavan would wake all his friends and take them with their calves to the forest, where they would all play and take the calves to graze. Every evening, he would bring them all back, and this went on for an entire year. After 1 year, Brahmaji came and saw Śrī Kṛṣṇa sitting with everyone. And as he was watching, the entire scene suddenly changed. The little gopas, they suddenly all looked like Lord Vishnu, with the conch, discus, mace and lotus in their 4 hands. And Brahmaji put his hand on his head and said, "Oh, what a fool I am! Into what delusion did I fall? This is the Supreme Lord himself."
Shri Brahmavāca no midya te bhravapushe tadidambaraya gunjavatamsya paripichala sanmukhaya vanye saje kavala vishana venu lakshmashiye mridupade pashupangajaya.
Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, you are the only worshipable Lord, and therefore I offer my humble obeisances and prayers just to please you. O son of the king of the cowherds, your transcendental body is a dark rain-bearing cloud. Your garment is brilliant like lightning, and the beauty of your face is enhanced by your gunja earrings and the peacock feather on your head. Wearing garlands of various forest flowers and leaves, and equipped with a cowherding stick, a buffalo horn, and a flute, you stand beautifully with a morsel of food in your hand." He continues, "O my dear Lord, neither I nor anyone else can estimate the potency of this transcendental body of yours, which has shown such mercy to me, and which appears just by your will. Although my mind is completely withdrawn and controlled from material affairs, but I cannot understand your personal form. How then could I possibly understand the happiness you experience within yourself?"
उत्क्षेपणं गर्भगतस्य पादयोः किं कल्पते मातुरधुक्षजागसे किमस्ति नास्ति व्यापदेशभूषितं तवास्ति कुक्षे कियदप्यानन्तः.
Brahmaji went and saluted Bhagavan Śrī Kṛṣṇa again. He begged and said, "O Lord, when a child is in the mother's womb, he sometimes kicks her or prods her, but the mother never feels offended. We too keep kicking your stomach with our feet. We too are your little ones. Please do not take offense. Please forgive me." And is there anything in existence, whether designated by various philosophers as real or as unreal, that is actually outside your abdomen?
अहो भाग्यं नन्दगोपा व्रजौकसां यन्मित्रं परमानन्दां पूर्णब्रह्म सनातनम्.
So Lord Brahma continued, how great is the fortune of all the people of Vraja! How blessed are Nanda, the Gopas, and the Gopa boys, that Brahman, pure existence, consciousness, bliss, the Satchidananda Vigraha, sits among them like a friend, laughing, playing, running, eating, and enacting so many pranks and dramas.
तद्भूरि भाग्यामिह जन्म किमप्यटव्यं यद्गोकुलेऽपि कतमाङ्घ्रिरजोऽभिषेकं या जीवितं तु निखिलं भगवान् मुकुन्दस्त्वाद्यपि यत्पदरज श्रुति मृग्यमेव.
So Brahmaji said, my greatest possible good fortune would be to take any birth whatever in this forest of Gokula and have my head bathed by the dust falling from the lotus feet of any of its residents. Their entire life and soul is the Supreme Lord, Mukunda, the dust of whose lotus feet is still being searched for in the Vedic mantras. Brahmaji said, O my Lord, O my dear Krishna, actually you are the knower and seer of all things. This entire universe rests in you. O Lord, you are omniscient, omnipotent, the controller of all, the ruler of all. Please forgive me. I offer this one universe unto you. Please forgive me.
अनुजानीहि मां कृष्ण सर्वा त्वं वेत्सि सर्वत्र त्वमेव जगत्ता नात्वा जगद्देतत्तवाकृतम्.
Brahmaji says, O my dear Lord, O my dear Śrī Kṛṣṇa, you bestow happiness upon the lotus-like Vrishni dynasty and expand the great oceans consisting of the earth, the demigods, the brahmanas and the cows. You dispel the dense darkness of irreligion and oppose the demons who have appeared on this earth. O the most worshipable one, O the Supreme Lord, as long as this universe exists and as long as the sun shines, I will offer my obeisances unto you. It is said that in another cycle of time, when Brahmaji was once deluded, he went to Goloka, the celestial abode of Śrī Kṛṣṇa. There he saw Śrī Kṛṣṇa's maidens standing with sticks in their hands, and they said, Stop, who are you? Brahmaji said, I am Brahma. They asked, Brahma? Brahma of which cosmos? Brahmaji asked in return, Are there many cosmoses? They replied, Oh, so many Brahmas come here each and every day. Which Brahma are you? Then in another story, it is said that Once Brahmaji again deluded about his greatness. He was crossing the desert to go somewhere but got lost along the way. He then happened to see a long line of heavily laden camels walking. The camel riders did not even look at him and continued moving. Brahmaji saw that this line of camels was unending. So finally he said to one of the camel riders that, "Son, please stop for a moment." The camel rider, however, did not stop or even look at Brahmaji. Brahmaji thought, how impudent. I, Brahma, ask him to stop and he still does not stop. What is the matter with him? So in great anger, he finally managed to stop one of them and asked what their camels were carrying. The camel rider replied, "These are all Brahmas. Many different cosmoses are constantly being created. So each of these Brahmas has been appointed to a cosmos and we are taking them there." Brahmaji realized that he had become so arrogant about being Lord Brahma in vain. Who knows how many countless Brahmas there were? Sri Shukadeva said, having thus offered his prayers, Lord Brahma circumambulated his worshipable Lord 3 times and then bowed down at his lotus feet. The appointed creator of the universe then returned to his own residence. So after granting Brahmaji the permission to leave, the Supreme Lord took the calves who were still where they had been a year earlier and brought them to the river bank, where he had been taking his meal and where his Gopa friends remained just as before. So Shukadevaji said, "O king, although the boys had passed an entire year apart from the Lord, but they had been covered by Lord Krishna's illusory potency and thus considered that year merely half a moment. So what indeed is not forgotten by those whose minds are bewildered by the Lord's illusory potency? By that power of Maya, this entire universe remains in perpetual bewilderment, and in this atmosphere of forgetfulness, no one can understand his own identity." So the cowherd friends say to Lord Krishna, "You have returned so quickly. We have not eaten even one morsel in your absence. So please come here and take your morsel without distraction." Then Lord Hrishikesha, smiling, finished his lunch in the company of his Gopa friends. While they were returning from the forest to their homes in Vraja, Lord Krishna showed the cowherd boys the skin of the dead python demon Aghasura. The Lord's wonderful body was decorated with peacock feathers and flowers and painted with forest minerals, and his bamboo flute loudly and festively resounded. As he called out to his calves by name, his Gopa friends purified the whole world by chanting his glories. Thus Lord Krishna entered the cow pasture of Nanda Baba, and the sight of his beauty at once produced a great festival for the eyes of all the cowherd women. Raja Parikshit asked Sri Shukadevaji why everyone loved Sri Krishna so much. Shukadevaji replied, "Because he is the very self of all embodied beings." When the Gopa boys loved Sri Krishna, they were actually expressing love for their own self, though they did not even know that Sri Krishna is the personification of their very self. Even without knowing, they loved Sri Krishna so intensely. Why? Sri Shukadeva said, It was because they knew one has to face many obstacles at every step in life. However, for those who hold on to the feet of the Lord, all difficulties are easily overcome.
Śrī Śukā Uvaca Sarveshāṃ api bhūtānaṃ nripa svātmayva vallabha itare patyavita dhyastad vallabhataye vahi. Tasmat priyatamah swātmā sarveshāmapi dehinam tadarthameva sakalam jagate tat characharam. Samāśritaye padapallavaplavam mahatpadam punyāya murāre bhavambudhir vatsapadam param padam 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 yadvipadānātesham. Etatte sarvam ākhyātam yat prishtohamiha tvāya tat kumārik harikritam pogande parikirtitam. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.